Hey, we're back in the kitchen. Welcome back to my kitchen, everybody. My name is Vicki-Lynne. If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and scooch on over and hit that bell icon. You're going to want to be notified every time one of my videos goes up because I'm bringing the flavor in 2023. So today we're doing another meal prep and I'm bringing the flavor. We're going to do a bunch of everything. We're doing some soup stock. We're going to do a butternut squash soup, but we're switching it up, not like my other butternut squash soup. We're doing some miso in here. We're bringing some flavors, some cilantro. It's going to be delicious. We're going to roast up some vegetables. We're going to do some refried beans, and we're not going to forget dessert this time. We're going to do a healthy, delicious chocolate pudding using tofu, my favorite, always. It's such a great dessert, super simple to make, and lasts a few days in the fridge. Not that it's going to last a few days in your fridge. So if that interests you, stick around. We're going to get into our meal prep. And again, if you're one of my subscribers, thank you so much for coming back each and every time. I so appreciate it. So let's get in the kitchen and let's get meal prepping. So the first thing you're going to do, is you're going to want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. We're going to be using a butternut squash. I'm going to do two. I have two. They need to get cooked. And again, you can make your soup as big or as little as you want, but we're going to start working with our butternut squash. The other thing I'm doing is I'm just going to do some sweet potatoes, and I have some regular sweet potatoes, and I have some oriental yams that I'm going to be doing because I like both of them. So I'm just going to put them in. You never know, I might make some of those sweet potato brownies with those. Again, another healthy dessert or a little sweet treat. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to cut off the top, make it easier to split them in half. And as long as it's sitting well, if it's not, if you have a wiggly wobbly one, then make sure you cut off the bottom so that it's sitting well, so you're not going to have an accident in the kitchen. And then we're just going to split it in half. And we're just going to want to deseed this. We're just going to use our prepared pan. We'll do the second one in a second. Just going to use our prepared pan. I just have a Silpat on it just because it'll ooze and goose. Now I don't use oil. You could oil it. And there's two ways of doing yours. You can do it upside down or right side up. I prefer mine upside down. It helps it steam on the inside, and I'm just going to put salt and pepper on mine. I like to put it upside down. That way it kind of caramelizes, gives it more flavor. So this morning I took all of my scraps from the freezer. So if you've been here before, you know I keep all of my scraps from my carrots and onions, anything that's usable, mushroom bottoms, whatever, and I just put them in the freezer until I'm ready to use them. And that's what I did this morning. I added water, some bay leaves, and some peppercorns, and a little bit of seasoning, whatever I'm in the mood for, some garlic, whatever. And I cooked that in my Instant Pot, let it go on the soup mode, and now I have my own veggie stock. Cost me nothing. So now I'm just going to strain that because we're going to need that for our butternut squash soup. You see how nice and dark that is? So again, just the celery and carrots, and potato skins. Just let that drain, and then you have a beautiful soup stock. So in my Dutch oven, I'm just going to add a little bit of water because again, I don't cook with oil. And we're going to add in our onions and our celery. We're going to get those browning. The only thing you have to remember when you're water sauteing is just keep an eye on everything. And as it starts to brown, you want it to brown, you just don't want it to burn. And then just keep adding water. So you can cook without the oil and still get the same effects. I'm also going to add in the garlic. This is about 3 or 4 cloves of garlic. Totally up to you, however much garlic you like. If you don't have fresh garlic, use powdered, use minced garlic in the jar, If you've been here before, guys, you know, let's just keep it simple. I happen to have fresh garlic. Decided that would be great today. You could also have put your garlic in the oven with your butternut squash and roasted it. So we're just going to brown this now. Just going to take about 3 or 4 minutes. Now we're going to add in our spices. We're using some turmeric, some smoked paprika, and some red pepper flakes, and some chopped cilantro. We're going to give that a stir. We're going to add a little bit of water just to get those spices to bloom. Smoked paprika is going to add a nice smoky flavor to our butternut squash soup. Oh, the smells right now are delicious. We're going to let those continue to cook. We're going to add in some of our broth. So I'm going to do 2 cups for now. We may need to add more depending on, again, how big your squashes are and how much you're going to need. We're going to balance that later. I'm going to let this simmer for a little bit until our squash is cooked. So while we're waiting for our squash and everything to do, as we always do with our meal prep, we're going to move on to the next thing, which is our refried beans. So I'm using my Instant Pot, cleaned it out from my soup stock, and super simple. We're using pinto beans that I've kind of soaked just for an hour or 2, just because I didn't have time to soak them overnight. And you don't have to with the Instant Pot. That's the great thing with them. The other great thing about the Instant Pot and making your beans in that is it actually, with the pressure cooking, actually helps remove that nasty little thing that gives us all gas and stuff. So that's the other great thing about cooking your beans in your pressure cooker. 1, you don't have to soak them, and 2, they will help you digest them better. So we're going to start with our Instant Pot. So we're going to put in, this is about 4 cups, 3.5 to 4 cups of pinto beans. I'm going to do about 10 cups of water. And then to that, I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of a Mexican oregano. And now if you have regular oregano, that's fine too. I just happen to have the Mexican oregano on hand, so I'm going to use that. And 2 teaspoons of cumin. Now I'm going to add about 3 or 4 cloves of garlic and about half of a white onion. Super simple. Make sure it's set to seal. I'm going to do manual and I'm going to do 35 minutes. And then we're going to come back when this is done. Now let's finish off our soup. First, we're going to take our high-speed blender and we're going to add in our broth mixture with our onions and garlic and ginger and put that into our blender. And then once our butternut squash is tempered enough to handle with our hands, we're going to scoop out the flesh with a spoon, add it into our blender. And again, you can use as much or as little as you want. I'm actually using both of my butternut squash. And then we're going to blend this very well. And you're going to start it off and let it blend until it's nice and smooth. And again, you can do it to the consistency that you like. I do like mine very smooth and nice and thick and hearty. See, now you can see how lovely and smooth that is. And then we're going to add that. Now we're going to pour the rest of our puree in. We're going to warm that up a little bit, and then we're just going to blend in a little bit of our soy milk. Now at this point, just keep blending in your soy milk to get the consistency that you want, depending on how thick or thin you want your soup. I always like mine nice and hearty and thick. And then we're going to do our final step, which is the miso. Now you don't want your soup to be boiling when you're doing your miso. So we just have our miso in a little bowl. You want to make sure that your soup is warm. And then you're going to add a little bit of soup to your miso, make a slurry, add it back into your soup, and then turn off your soup because you don't want your soup to be boiling. Okay? And now at this point, you're just going to want to taste it, season it to your liking, add some more fresh cracked black pepper, salt, and maybe some more extra red pepper flakes if you want it to give it a little bit more of a kick. So as promised, we're doing dessert, and we're going to do a chocolate pudding using silken tofu. And so if you're enjoying this, don't forget to give this a big old thumbs up, because you know that whole YouTube algorithm thing going on, guys. It really does help my channel, so I do appreciate it. So we're going to start. I use the Tetra boxes because I find it gives it a better flavor. And so these are like 13 ounces, I want to say 12.3 ounces. And I actually get mine on Amazon. They seem to be the easiest place to find the Tetra boxes of tofu. And I'm in Chicago, and I struggle even in Chinatown to find the Tetra boxes of tofu. So I either get it on Amazon or I get it on Thrive Market. I think this one was actually Thrive Market. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our tofu and I'm going to drain it. Super simple. So we've drained our tofu. Just going to stick it into our food processor. Very simple. And to that we're going to add in some cocoa powder or cacao powder. I think I'm going to add a little bit more, just a little bit left in that. A teaspoon of vanilla. Vanilla just enhances the flavor. I do need a pinch of salt. Again, salt just enhances the flavor, but if you're not using salt, don't worry about it. You don't have to. And the last ingredient that I'm going to put in is a little, you could use instant coffee. I'm using a little bit of espresso powder. And I'm literally using about 1/4 of a teaspoon, and the coffee is just going to enhance the chocolate. I forgot the maple syrup. Am I not always forgetting something? I'm putting about 3 tablespoons. You could probably go up to 4 or 5. I guess maybe like 1/4 cup if you want. I think 3 is enough for me. There we go. You can see how smooth and luscious that is. I just wanted to give the sides a little quick scrape down. I'm going to blend for about 30 seconds and it's all done. There you go. You have your delicious silky chocolate pudding. Just going to put it in our little cups and it'll be all ready for us. So our beans cooked for 35 minutes. I let them naturally release for 15, and then I've let the rest of the steam dissipate. Try not to get the steam in the camera. So now we're going to just transfer our pinto beans into our blender. Now you could just use your immersion blender in here if that's what you want to do. I find they don't get as creamy as they do in the blender. And this way you can also control how much liquid is in there. Sometimes when you're using your Instant Pot, there's extra liquid left over. And we do like ours nice and creamy. Some people like them less creamy. So we're just going to put everything into our blender. So I'm going to start with about, I'm going to say about 1 cup of the liquid to start, and we'll see how that goes. Just going to give them a try. Oh, much better with the salt. Again, just season to your liking. And don't forget, I have mine nice and thick, super creamy. Everybody likes them differently. I'm actually going to keep some of the leftover liquid, because when I do use them, you're going to probably need to thin them out a little bit. And I want to have that flavorful liquid to thin it out. Hey guys, that's another wrap in the kitchen for this week. We've got our refried beans. We have our delicious soup. Now, if you're not in the mood for your butternut squash soup, don't forget, I have a ton of soup recipes out there on my playlist. Just look them up. I have a great tomato basil soup. We have a couple of kale with the white beans, cauliflower, broccoli, you name it. I've got it out there. Just take a look. They're all no fat, no oil, and they're delicious. So if you're not in the mood for the butternut squash soup, but it is delicious, give the other ones a try. And we're going to see you in the next one. See you soon.